Hello and welcome to Behind the Bearcat, is the podcast where the Northwest Missouri State University Career Services Office chats with Northwest faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends to hear about their career journeys, how they got to where they are, and how they became Bearcats. I'm Northwest Internship Coordinator Travis Klein.
And I'm Hannah Christian, the Director of Career Services here at Northwest. And our guest on today's show, drum roll, is...
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Stevens. I'm a senior here at Northwest. I'm a public relations major, and I'm also the event coordinator intern at Career Services currently.
Oh, awesome. Welcome, Grace. So glad to have you on as our guest.
I know.
Especially since we finished up last week with the last of the major career-focused events this year. So could you tell us, Grace, first of all, what made you want to be an event coordinator intern?
Okay, that's actually a great question because I have wanted to get into event planning. I think it just really interests me forever. And I finally started looking at some of the student employee applications that were open. And I saw that it was at Career Services, and I was like so excited about it. I honestly didn't think I was going to even get an interview because I was like, I don't know, Career Services, that's kind of intimidating. But I was very happy to have gotten an interview. It sounded so interesting to me. And I love anything where I'm working with people, where I'm working with details. And this internship is both of those put together. So it's just one of my favorite things.
So, okay. When you say you've been interested in working events, what about events? What about that specific thing interests you? What do you like about it?
I think probably the biggest thing is that it's such a direct payoff. And I wish I was the type of person who had the patience to wait for a really long time to be able to see the payoff. But I love being able to do things where I'm putting the work in and connecting with people, and then I get to literally see in front of my eyes the culmination of all of my effort. And I love event planning for that reason. I feel like I put in so much work. I'm connecting with so many people in and out of whatever office I'm working in at the time. And then when the day comes, I get to have all of these people come together and connect because of some of the work I did. And I just think it's the coolest thing of all time.
That's interesting insight. I didn't really think of it that way. But you're right. You say, I need 60 bagels, and then you order 60 bagels, and then the 60 bagels show up. That's very rewarding, right?
Right? It makes me so happy. Okay, at career day, people are eating yogurt. I was like, yes, they're eating the yogurt. It's just so exciting.
So, go ahead, Travis.
I was just prior to working for the office, you mentioned you saw it was Career Services and you were a little intimidated. Had you gone to any of the Career Services events before you started running them?
That's a great question. My answer is no, but the reason is I'm a third-year senior, and my first year, I was a freshman, barely even had heard of Career Services. I know a lot of the tours come through our office now, but when I went on a tour here, they did not even mention the Career Services office. And then my sophomore year, I started hearing a little bit about it, but that was last year, and COVID kind of took over most of the year. And so I kind of just tended to avoid all campus events, honestly. So I hadn't been to any Career Services events prior to me planning them now. So it's been honestly I think there's pros and cons to it, because it's been nice to come into it with completely zero expectations, and I'm just going off of how can we do this to the best of our ability with no prior expectation of how it should go. But it also would probably have been nice to know okay, this is what it's going to look like when you walk in. That would have been nice to know, but things go how they go. I think we pulled it off all right this year.
And things had to look different because of COVID. So honestly, if you would have went freshman year, we wouldn't have looked the same anyway this time. So that worked out all right.
Yeah, that's true.
So, can you tell us what events you have planned thus far? We are, we start in August, so we're a couple months into the semester. What exactly have you done when we talk about event planning?
So our events in this office, the main ones that at least we're in charge of, are the local job fair, speed networking, career day, mock interview day, and then PBL Palooza, which has yet to happen. It happens at the end of the semester. And I can't take too much credit for local job fair because I literally was hired for, was it like a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it happened. So I can't take too much credit for it because it was really just a learning experience and getting to work with all of you for the first time. And Kat Falke, who is another amazing person in our office, who I work under quite a lot. So local job fair, I didn't do a lot on the planning side of things. Pretty much as soon as I stepped into the office, though, mock interview day was one of my main responsibilities. So I coordinated all of the student resumes, making sure their appointments were on time, that they knew when their appointment was, getting them signed up for that. So mock interview day, honestly, watching that happen was like, honestly, like blew me away because I was like, is this actually like happening in front of my eyes after weeks and weeks of planning this? Like, it was crazy. And then career day has been, honestly, like Kat, she can take most of the like, she did such an amazing job, and especially like, probably most of our listeners don't know this, but Kat was hired only a little bit before I was, and so we were both stepping into a new environment. Luckily, she has worked at Northwest in the past and has a lot of experience in event planning. So yeah, it was those events. Probably mock interview day has been the one I've most been involved with.
I would also say, I would also like to add for Kat's benefit, big gold stars, Kat did in fact attend career services events and took advantage of all career services opportunities, unlike the rest of us in the office.
Yeah.
Right.
So Kat deserves all the gold stars. Let's be honest.
Hats off to her.
All right, so let's go back a little further. What brought you to Northwest? Where are you from originally, and how did you get to Northwest?
Okay. So I grew up in Pleasantville, Iowa, which is a tiny, tiny town in like southern Iowa. I think they maybe hit 1,000 people. Probably not yet, honestly. But I grew up in a pretty rural place. And so my high school was, my class was about 50, 60 people. And when you go to a small high school, and people who have gone to small high schools growing up will know this, there's a lot of opportunities, and you're usually kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, like most of the time. Like, you're usually, if you're wanting to do something, you end up getting wrapped up in everything. And I think I'm grateful for that experience because if I had gone to a bigger school, I probably would not have participated or tried nearly as many things as I did where I grew up. So, coming out of high school, I then was like looking at options, and most of my classmates were either going to Iowa State University or University of Iowa. And those were big. I don't like coming out of, I don't know how they were doing it. I'm going to be honest. I was like, you guys are stepping from like a tiny classroom into these humongous lecture halls, and you're not scared out of your minds. Like, I was just like, what? So I was looking at some other options. I had heard about Northwest through some of the previous graduating classes that had attended here, and I decided to give it a try, actually mainly because of the Bearcat advantage, where they even out the tuition for out-of-state students. I really appreciated that as a feature, and I also just heard a lot of things about Northwest, such as the textbook and laptop program, that made me think like they care about students. It's going to be student-centered, and I'm going to, actually, like, people are going to know who I am, and I'm not going to be lost in the crowd if I go here. So I attended a tour, and let me say, the comparison, I attended quite a few college tours my senior year because I was so nervous about picking college that I will say, like, the tour here was like so good. It was like amazing. Like, we stepped out of the car and there was like someone on a golf cart. They were like, "Hi, you want me to drive you?" And we were like, "Yeah, okay." Like, my mom looked at me and she was like, Like she's like, you're going here. It was just the most amazing, like welcoming experience. Everyone was so friendly. So after that experience, I pretty much like it was kind of a no-brainer for me, honestly, after the tour. I was like, it's so beautiful here. Everyone's so nice, so welcoming. Like all of the things I have heard going into it seem like they are like such a student based, which it's part of Northwest mission, student success. So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer for me, honestly, coming out of high school. I was like, yeah, it's also like the perfect distance away from home. It's like 2.5 hours. So it's like I have space for my parents because that's what I was definitely thinking when I was coming out of like high school. I was like, let me just get like a little bit like a 2.5 hour drive, but I can still go home when I need to go home. So yeah.
Very important considerations for college students. Why did you pick PR as a major?
Honestly, I was just I was like, let me just see what I can do with this. I expected myself to change my major. I was encouraged by my parents. My dad pretty much went into college knowing he's stuck with his major, but my mom changed her major quite a few times before she ended up in a career that she really liked. Um, so I went into college thinking like I'm going to try this out and then if I don't like it, I can always change it. Like I've got a couple years to figure it out. So I went in as a PR major because I thought this is something that every organization needs that can be transferred into a bunch of different skill sets that I can take pretty much anywhere. I liked it because it was super flexible. It sounded interesting. It sounded like I would be, talking with people a lot, and I was into all of that. So I kind of just went into it because it was a very flexible option, and it sounded like something that I could do many different things with if I decided to like suddenly, I don't know, change my habits or like I found a different passion or whatever. I felt like I could still use it if I had taken a couple classes in it and I decided to change. Like I felt like I could still use it in so many different areas. And then when I got here and I started taking the classes, I just loved it. So stuck with me, I guess.
So what's the career goal then? So you mentioned you love events and you like that kind of immediate kind of satisfaction. Is that what you want to do when you get done with here too?
I would actually love that. I do know that event planning can be kind of hard to get into because they usually, when people hire event planners, they don't want someone that's like fresh out of college. They want someone that's like they've seen the huge events that they've done and they know for sure that they can handle it because there's a lot of time and money and a lot of like brand image that comes with planning events. So I would love to do that. I'm also like open to so much stuff just because I can get passionate about pretty much anything. Like I like learning new things. I like going into new fields. Stepping into this office, I would not think I would be passionate about like helping other students with their like school and their career fields, but um yeah, I think I just like like trying new things and like figuring out what I like as I go. So I'd like to go into event planning, but I'm also open to like so many other things.
Keep those options open. I like it.
So you mentioned being a 3-year senior. Was that on purpose or did that just happen? Did you come in with a bunch of dual credit from high school? How'd you get in so quick?
So one of the other great things about the high school I grew up in, they I can't remember what the qualifications for it were, but they paid for dual credit courses if we were taking them while we were in high school. I think it was like as long as you had a certain GPA, they would pay for it, which was very helpful to so many students because a lot of the students in my high school worked very hard and had good GPA. If it says anything, there was three valedictorians. They all tied in my, and I was like right under there too. So like it's everyone was a very pretty much everyone I should say was a very good student in my high school, at least in my class. Um, and so I think it was just part of the administration realizing that and wanting to provide more opportunities to be able to like help us out with our next step. So I just ended up taking quite a few because I just wanted to get my gen eds out of the way. I knew when I went into college, I didn't want to be focusing on like the general stuff too much. Like I knew once I stepped out of high school, I was ready to focus on the next step, and I didn't want to keep going over the things that I felt I already knew. So, yeah, I took advantage of those like crazy. So it just kind of happened that way. I guess I didn't really plan for it, but yeah.
Can you talk to us about some of the other opportunities you've had on campus? So, like NACTIV, you were a part of NACTIV, right?
I was not,
Oh, you were not.
unfortunately.
I
No.
know Bearcat Virtual Agency, though, you are a
Yes.
part of. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah. I'll say a huge part of me having opportunities on campus has been the professors in Wells Hall in the communication and mass media department. Um, so many of my professors like really it like they'll take time out of the beginning of class to be like, so if you're not in this club, you need to be in this club. If you're not doing this, you need to apply for this. Like they'll take time out of their lecture to be like, you guys need to be doing this. It's the next step. So my freshman year, I got into Ad Inc. Kind of tried out a couple other clubs that weren't really for me, but Ad Inc. has been the one that I've stuck with. And Jackie Lamer, Dr. Jackie Lamer, is the one who she's kind of the main advisor for that. And she and Kevin Fullerton, who is at Springboard Creative, they have worked together for a really long time because Kevin is an alum from here, and they wanted to provide an opportunity for students that was more based around advertising rather than the communication side, which is more what NACTIV tends to focus on. And so they created the Bearcat Virtual Agency and opened up 4 different internships with that. So I kind of just applied on a whim. I feel like that's kind of how it goes with me, honestly. I'm always like, it'll probably be a no. And I just see how it goes from there. But we had the interview and he called me for the interview. It wasn't like a FaceTime or anything. And I remember I was literally like pacing circles in my room, like talking to him on the phone. And then we finished the interview and he was like, so just so you know, if we did offer you the position, like this is what you would be doing in your internship. And I was like, yeah, like 100%. That all sounds amazing to me. And he was like, okay, so do you want to do it? Like he like just offered to me right there. And I was like, yeah. I was like, does this mean I got it? I was like, yeah, I want to do it. So it honestly just ended up that way. I feel like our campus is so great at providing opportunity. Like, I think it's just the faculty, at least in my experience, are so encouraging to students about trying different things and getting involved in so many different things. And that's also like another reason I love Northwest so much is I feel like it's big enough to have lots of opportunities, but it's small enough to where like people recognize you, like you know the different things that are available to you. So if you want to say no to something, you can, but like there are so many things that are available for students.
So since you're a senior, I always like to ask seniors, like, if you could go back and talk to freshman Grace and give her advice, what would you tell her?
Oh God.
Well, she doesn't have to go
Probably
that far back.
That's true. It's not
I'd
as far
probably
of a
be
trip
like,
for you.
I know it seems like it's been forever though. Everyone would be like, there's a pandemic coming. I don't know. I'd probably say to get involved like as much as possible, but do it like keep doing it throughout the semester because what I think when I came in and we had advantage week and I got here and there was the organization fair, I remember I went to that. There was so much that was being offered to me that I got a little overwhelmed and I was like, I'm just going to focus on my classes. I'm just not going to do any of it. And I feel like even if you go to like 5 meetings for 5 different clubs and you hate every single one and you don't want to be a part of it, you still tried and you still like, I know now this is not something I'm interested in. Like I got involved with adding my freshman year, but it was just like barely. And then like last year I kept going and they had stuff like over Zoom. But I think if you can make connections with people in those clubs your freshman year, it is such an amazing way to like grow relationships, because otherwise I don't think that I would like people outside of my major and the classes that I'm in. Like I don't think I would know nearly as many people outside of my major if I didn't try new activities or clubs.
Or jobs or internships, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or internships.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast, Grace. It's been really great to talk to you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, that will do it for another episode of Behind the Bearcat, and we'll talk to you next time. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget that you can find the audio version of the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. New episodes come out every Friday, and you can connect with us on social media on both Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Bearcat, and we'll talk to you next time.